The doorbell rang on a crisp autumn evening in suburban Ohio, shattering the fragile peace of the Harrison family home. Sarah Harrison froze in the kitchen, her hands trembling as she gripped the edge of the counter, staring at the front door like it was a portal to her worst nightmares. When she finally opened it, there stood her brother Vito, older, weathered, but unmistakably the same boy she'd last seen being dragged out by their father 12 years ago. His face bruised and his voice broken as he screamed, "I'm gay, and I won't hide it anymore." Vito's eyes met Sarah's, a storm of unspoken accusations swirling between them. He hadn't come back for reconciliation or nostalgia. He'd come because of the frantic voicemail she'd left on a number he never thought she'd have. "Sarah," he said, his voice steady but laced with the weight of years. "You said you needed help. What kind of trouble are you in that you'd call the brother you helped disown?" She stepped aside, letting him in, the house unchanged yet suffocating with memories. The same floral wallpaper, the same creaky wooden floors, but now it felt like a museum of their fractured family. Their parents were gone. Dad from a heart attack 5 years back, Mom from cancer 2 years after that. Sarah had inherited it all. The house, the debts, and the guilt that gnawed at her like a persistent ache. As Vito sat at the kitchen table, the one where family dinners had once been laced with unspoken tensions, Sarah poured coffee with shaking hands. "It's Emily," she whispered, referring to her 10-year-old daughter. "She's different, like you were." Vito's heart clenched. Emily, the niece he'd never met, born after he'd been cast out. Sarah explained in halting words. Emily had come home from school with drawings of 2 princesses holding hands, and the kids had teased her mercilessly. But it was worse. The school counselor had called, suggesting therapy, and Sarah's husband, Mark, a rigid man much like their father, had exploded. "He says it's a phase, but if it's not, he'll handle it his way," Sarah said, tears welling. "I can't let that happen to her. Not like what happened to you." The irony hit Vito like a punch. Sarah, who at 18 had stood by silently as their father beat him and threw him out with nothing but the clothes on his back, now begged for his intervention. "You watched it happen," Vito said quietly, his voice cracking for the first time. "You even told Dad about the letters I hid from my boyfriend back then. You betrayed me to fit in with them." Sarah's face crumpled. "I was scared, Vito. I was young and stupid. I thought if I proved my loyalty, Dad would love me more. But it destroyed us all." She reached for his hand, but he pulled away. Still, he stayed, because beneath the resentment, a flicker of protectiveness stirred for the little girl he didn't know but who carried the same invisible burden he'd once shouldered alone. That night, Vito lay on the guest room bed, the same one he'd slept in as a teen, staring at the ceiling. Memories flooded back. The secret kisses with his high school crush, Ryan, in the woods behind the house, the terror of discovery, the night Dad found the letters and unleashed hell. Vito had fled to Chicago, scraping by in shelters until he found work as a barista, then climbed to managing a coffee shop chain. There, he'd met Jamie, a kind-hearted graphic designer who became his anchor, his partner of 8 years. Jamie had urged him not to come, warning that old wounds would reopen. But Vito couldn't ignore Sarah's plea, not when it echoed his own past. The next morning, Emily bounded into the kitchen, her curly hair wild and her eyes wide with curiosity. "Who's he, Mom?" she asked, pointing at Vito. Sarah introduced him as Uncle Vito, the one who'd been away for work. Emily tilted her head. "Are you like me? Do you like boys too?" The question hung in the air, innocent yet piercing. Vito knelt to her level. "Yeah, kiddo, I do. And that's okay." For the first time in years, he felt a crack in the wall he'd built around his heart. But Mark arrived home early, his truck rumbling into the driveway like an omen. He stormed in, his face reddening at the sight of Vito. "What the hell is he doing here?" Mark demanded, his voice booming. Sarah tried to explain, but Mark cut her off. "That freak? You think bringing him back will fix Emily? It'll make it worse." Vito stood tall, his jaw set. "Emily doesn't need fixing. She needs love." The confrontation escalated, words flying like daggers. Mark hurling slurs from their father's playbook, Vito countering with calm truths about acceptance. Sarah stood between them, torn, her silence a painful reminder of the past. As the day wore on, Vito took Emily for a walk in the park, away from the tension. She chattered about school, her drawings, her confusion. "Daddy says it's wrong," she confided. Vito shared snippets of his story, sanitized for her age, emphasizing that being true to yourself was strength, not weakness. Back home, Jamie called, his voice a lifeline. "How's it going?" he asked. Vito sighed. "Complicated. But I think I'm needed here." Jamie paused. "Just don't lose yourself in their mess. Love." That evening, Sarah confessed more. Her marriage was crumbling under Mark's controlling ways, mirroring their parents' dynamic. She'd stayed for Emily, but now feared losing her if Mark pushed his views. Vito suggested resources, LGBTQ+ support groups in nearby Cleveland, therapists specializing in family dynamics. But Mark overheard, erupting again. "You're poisoning my family," he yelled, shoving Vito against the wall. Sarah finally spoke up. "No, Mark, you're the one tearing us apart." For the first time, she chose sides, echoing the choice she should have made years ago. The following week brought a fragile routine to the Harrison home. Vito extended his stay, working remotely from his laptop in the living room, fielding calls about coffee shipments while keeping an eye on Emily. She warmed to him quickly, dragging out her art supplies to show drawings of rainbow families. "See? This is me and my friend Lily," she said proudly. Vito smiled, but inside, he ached for the battles she'd face in this conservative town where church billboards preached traditional values and school board meetings debated banning books on diversity. Sarah, emboldened by Vito's presence, started attending online support forums he recommended. One night, as they sat on the porch sipping tea, she opened up about the years after he left. "I searched for you once," she admitted. "Hired a private investigator with my waitressing tips. But you vanished so completely." Vito nodded. "I had to. Changed my last name to Ellis for a fresh start." The revelation stung. He'd erased their shared history to survive. Sarah wiped her eyes. "I married Mark to escape the emptiness. He seemed stable like Dad. But he's become just as harsh." Mark, meanwhile, simmered with resentment. He worked long hours at the auto plant, coming home late and retreating to the basement TV, muttering about liberal agendas infiltrating his home. One afternoon, he cornered Vito in the garage. "You think you're some hero now? Coming back after all these years?" Vito met his gaze evenly. "I'm here for Emily and Sarah. Not to fight you." But Mark sneered. "Sarah was fine until you showed up, stirring up old crap. And Emily? She's just confused because of all this pride nonsense on TV." The conflict peaked at a family dinner. Vito insisted on cooking pasta with homemade sauce, a recipe from Jamie. As they ate, Emily asked innocently, "Uncle Vito, do you have a wife?" He hesitated, glancing at Sarah, who nodded encouragement. "No, sweetie, I have a husband. His name's Jamie." Emily's eyes lit up. "Cool. Can I meet him?" Mark slammed his fork down. "Absolutely not. No way is that coming into my house." Sarah snapped, "Our house, Mark. And Jamie's family, too." The argument spilled into the night, Mark storming out to the bar, Sarah in tears. Vito comforted her, but doubt crept in. Was he helping or just reopening scars? A call from Jamie reinforced his resolve. "You're doing the right thing," Jamie said. "But remember, you don't owe them your pain." Vito shared more about his life, the therapy that healed his trauma, the friends who'd become his chosen family, the pride parades where he'd marched for visibility. At Emily's school, trouble brewed. A parent complained about her inappropriate drawings, triggering a meeting with the principal. Sarah attended alone, but faltered under pressure. "We can recommend conversion programs," the principal suggested, citing local churches. Sarah called Vito in panic. He rushed over, joining via phone, citing laws against discrimination. "Emily has rights," he argued. The principal backed down, But the incident exposed the town's undercurrents of intolerance. Whispers in grocery stores, stares at Sarah. Vito decided to bring Jamie for support, inviting him for the weekend. Jamie arrived, charming and unassuming, with gifts for Emily, art books on diverse families. Mark boycotted the visit, staying at a friend's, but Sarah welcomed him warmly. Over dinner, Jamie shared stories of his own coming out in a supportive family, contrasting sharply with Vito's. Emily listened raptly, asking questions that made the adults laugh. For a moment, the house felt whole. But reality intruded. Mark returned early Sunday, finding Jamie and Vito holding hands on the couch. "Get out," he growled. Jamie stood calmly. "We're guests, Mark. And family." Mark lunged, but Vito stepped in, de-escalating with words. "This is what love looks like. If you can't accept it, that's on you." Mark left again, slamming doors. Sarah, empowered, told Vito, "I think I need to leave him." As the week progressed, Vito helped Sarah plan, consulting lawyers for divorce, finding affordable housing. But guilt weighed on him. Was he pushing too hard? Sarah reassured him, "You gave me the courage I lacked back then." Yet, a letter arrived from an old neighbor, warning that Mark was rallying concerned citizens against the influence in their home. Rumors spread. Vito was corrupting Emily. The climax built at a town hall meeting on school curriculum. Mark spoke against indoctrination, indirectly attacking Vito. Vito attended, standing to share his story. "I was disowned for being gay. Don't let that happen to another child." The room divided, some applauded, others jeered. Sarah stood beside him, declaring, "My brother is a hero." Mark glared, the rift irreparable. With Mark moving out temporarily to his brother's place, the house breathed easier, but the void he left echoed with uncertainty. Sarah filed for separation, citing irreconcilable differences, and Vito helped her navigate the paperwork, drawing on his own experiences of rebuilding life from scratch. Emily, sensing the changes, clung to Vito more, asking endless questions about love and family. "Why can't Daddy understand?" she pondered one evening as they baked cookies. Vito replied gently, "Sometimes people are afraid of what they don't know, but love wins when we teach with kindness." Jamie's visit had left a lasting impact. He Skyped often, becoming Uncle Jamie to Emily. Their relationship, stable and loving, served as a model for Sarah, who confided her regrets about settling for security over passion. "I envied you even after you left," she admitted. "You lived authentically. I hid behind expectations." Vito shared his struggles. The homelessness, the rejection from jobs due to his lifestyle, the therapy sessions where he unpacked the betrayal. "Forgiveness isn't easy," he said, "but holding on to anger poisons you." Social conflicts intensified. At church, where Sarah had once found solace, the pastor preached against modern perversions. Glancing her way, she stopped attending, joining an inclusive online community Vito introduced. But the town gossiped. "That Harrison girl is turning her kid gay with her brother's help." Emily faced bullying at school. Notes in her locker calling her weird. Vito picked her up one day, confronting the principal again. "This is harassment," he insisted. The school promised action, but skepticism lingered. A turning point came when an old high school friend of Vito's, now a local activist, reached out. Lisa organized a support group for LGBTQ+ families. Vito brought Sarah and Emily. There, they met others facing similar battles. Parents disowning teens, schools ignoring bias. Emily made a friend, a boy with 2 moms, and for the first time she felt normal. Sarah blossomed, volunteering to help plan events. But Mark fought back through legal channels, demanding full custody of Emily, claiming Sarah was unfit due to Vito's influence. The court date loomed, amplifying tensions. Vito testified in preparation, recounting his disownment to illustrate the harm of intolerance. The lawyer warned, "This could get ugly. They'll dig into your past." Indeed, Mark's side subpoenaed records, painting Vito as unstable. Amid this, Vito's health faltered, A stress-induced migraine sidelined him. Jamie flew in again, caring for him, reminding him of their life in Chicago. Cozy apartments, weekend hikes, a circle of friends. "We built something beautiful," Jamie said. "Don't let this drag you down." Vito leaned on him, but resolve hardened. He couldn't abandon Sarah now. The hearing arrived, a sterile courtroom in Cleveland packed with supporters and detractors. Mark's lawyer grilled Vito. "Isn't it true you ran away because of your choices?" Vito responded firmly. "I was thrown out for being myself. Choices? Love isn't a choice." Sarah testified tearfully about Mark's rages, his threats to fix Emily. The judge, a progressive woman, seemed sympathetic, but ordered mediation. Post-hearing, Mark confronted them outside. "You ruined my family," he spat at Vito. Sarah stepped forward. "No, you did, by refusing to evolve." Mark's face twisted, but he walked away, defeated for now. Back home, celebrations were muted. Victory felt hollow amid the emotional toll. Vito reflected on his journey. From vanished outcast to reluctant savior. He'd uncovered layers of societal prejudice. In families, schools, courts, that perpetuated cycles of hurt. Yet, glimmers of change emerged. A neighbor apologizing for past silence. Emily's school implementing anti-bullying programs. Mediation sessions dragged on. A battleground of words where Mark grudgingly agreed to joint custody, provided Vito limited his involvement. But Sarah pushed back. Vito is family. Emily needs him. The mediator, sensing the impasse, suggested family therapy. Reluctantly, all agreed, sessions unveiling deep-seated issues. Mark's own repressed upbringing, Sarah's enabling patterns, Vito's lingering trauma. In one session, Mark admitted, "I saw my dad beat sense into me. Thought it worked." Vito shared, "It didn't for me. It broke me." Tears flowed, barriers cracking. Emily joined occasionally, her innocence bridging gaps. "I love you all," she said, melting tensions. Outside therapy, life normalized. Vito returned to Chicago briefly for work, but commuted weekends. Jamie accompanied sometimes, his presence normalizing their relationship. One picnic, Mark unexpectedly joined, awkward but civil. "Jamie's a good cook," he muttered, a olive branch. Progress was slow, but real. Yet, societal backlash persisted. A local news story sensationalized the custody battle. Gay uncle influences child in family drama. Comments online raged. Some supportive, others vicious, calling for Vito's removal. Sarah received hate mail, Emily taunts at school. Vito countered with an op-ed in the local paper. My story. From disowned to defender. It sparked debates, dividing the community but raising awareness. Personal growth deepened. Sarah pursued a degree in social work, inspired by Vito. "I want to help families like ours," she said. Vito mentored LGBTQ+ youth online, channeling his pain into purpose. Jamie proposed marriage during a quiet evening. A simple ring, a promise of forever. "Through all this, you've shown me strength," Jamie said. Vito accepted, tears of joy mixing with relief. But a crisis hit. Emily ran away after a school fight, hiding in the woods where Vito once escaped. Panic ensued. Vito led the search, finding her curled up, sobbing. "They said I'm bad because of you," she cried. Vito held her. "They're wrong. You're perfect." The incident galvanized Mark. He publicly supported anti-bullying initiatives, a surprising turn. As custody finalized in Sarah's favor with shared parenting, Mark apologized privately to Vito. "I was wrong. About a lot." Vito nodded. "We all were once." Forgiveness bloomed, not instant, but earned. With stability, Vito prepared to leave permanently, his role fulfilled. Sarah hugged him tightly. "You saved us." He smiled. "You saved yourselves." Back in Chicago, Vito and Jamie planned their wedding. A small affair with chosen family, including Sarah and Emily as guests of honor. Mark even attended, uncomfortable but present, a testament to growth. Vows exchanged under twinkling lights, Vito reflected on the path, from exile to embrace. Years passed. Emily thrived, openly queer in a more accepting world, thanks to the foundations laid. Sarah remarried a kind woman, finding her own truth late in life. Mark evolved, volunteering at Pride events, atoning for past sins. Vito's coffee empire expanded, incorporating inclusive policies. He wrote a memoir, Vanished and Returned, sparking national discussions on family rejection and redemption. But echoes of conflict remained. Debates on whether societal pressures excuse betrayal, or if forgiveness enables cycles. Vito pondered these in quiet moments, grateful yet scarred. In the end, the Harrison saga challenged norms, proving change possible amid pain. Is it always right to forgive family betrayals, even if it risks personal well-being? True or false?